This is the book of 1 Timothy, chapter 4, and verse 12. Let no man despise thy youth, but be thou an example of the believers in word and in conversation and in charity, in spirit, in faith, in purity. Shalom, shalom. I want to start by giving our praises, glory, and honor to the Lord Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Rakakadash. On the brother Napak from Great Millstone, Tampa. I want to give double honor to elders and apostles of Great Millstone who teach and rule well. Peace and blessings to hopeful elect and the ones listening in. And I want to get into a quick lesson. And, through the Spirit, I want to title this lesson, the Lord is setting us all up to be leaders. All right? The Lord is setting us all up to be leaders. Every single brother that follows after the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushai is being, set up, all right, are taken through the route, all right, to become leaders with the hardships, with the, experience that we're acquiring right now. It's all to make us leaders, man, okay, in the end. And that's what, the Lord is building every brother up into, as a leader, to lead his flock, to feed his flock, to be an example to the young, brothers, coming into the faith, just coming to the understanding, all right? But one thing we also know is in order to be a great leader, you must be a great follower. So as we are being set up to be leaders, we must be led ourselves, all right? That's why you have the elders, brothers that are more seasoned and experienced in this truth. They have went the route and the steps that we went through to become leaders and great, great men in this faith. Okay? So we have to follow, and it's all the order. That's why the Lord set up an order. All right? So now that we have to follow after, brothers that been in the faith, we must be followed. All right? And as I'm speaking unto y'all, I'm speaking unto myself as well. All right? So the way you conduct yourself, all right, the way you are your walk in this truth, it should be to influence Jake to stay in righteousness, all right, to be in righteousness and in sincerity and be genuine, okay? That's this 1 Timothy chapter 4 and verse 12 to bring it back. It says, let no man despise thy youth. Now we all came into this truth young, all right? And some brothers may have already been older, but spiritually you are young because you have no knowledge of the truth, all right? So you're a babe when you first come into this truth, okay? But, physically, a lot of brothers have come into this truth very young and just becoming men, all right? So the Lord have it where he will get the young men that have a lot of life and ambition and that's stored already inside them to serve him, So the scripture says, let no man despise thy youth. Because we are young, we are looked at as fools. Brothers are looked at as fools, bro. So that's why the scripture says, don't let no man, all right, despise thy youth, all right, or try to downplay you in anything or any way, okay? But be thou an example of the believers in word, in conversation, in charity, in spirit, in faith, in purity. So we're becoming and we're being an example unto those, all right, that doesn't have the true knowledge, the true understanding. That's a babe in this truth. We must become an example unto them to walk the right path and not the path of death and destruction, okay? To lead them into life, All right. You know, in the NLT it said, "Don't let anyone think less of you because you are young. Be an example to all believers in what you say, in the way you live, in your love, in your faith, and in your purity." So we're being an example in what we say and how we live, all right? And how we love, in our love, all right, our faith and our purity. We are being an example in all aspects in order to lead the Lord's flock into the right direction. Okay? As times are getting closer into the end, there's going to be more people seeking knowledge, seeking understanding, seeking the truth. All right? So the Lord has set up brothers, all right, men, to be able to be there for those, Jake, that are seeking him out. Okay? It says, "Until I get there, focus on reading the scriptures to the church, encouraging the believers, and teaching them. Do not neglect the spiritual gift you received through the prophecy spoken over you when the elders of the church laid their hands on you." So until, the Lord gets there, we focus on reading the scriptures, all right, to the church, prophesying, teaching, feeding the sheep, encouraging the believers, and teaching them. All right. This is what the Lord has commanded us to do. All right. As leaders of his flock. All right. Because our elders, have failed us. The elders in this world, the old man, the old Jake, they have failed us, man. Okay. They have failed the youth. Because look at majority of Jake now. Gang banging, and into drugs. Their lifestyles lead unto death. All right. So the Lord has set up us elders in the spirit and in righteousness to lead his elect, okay? To lead his men, okay, in the right path unto life, unto salvation. All right? I want to grab this scripture as well. First Peter chapter 5 and verse 3. It says, let's start. I'll start at verse 1. NLT says, "And now a word to you who are elders in the churches. I, too, am an elder and a witness to the sufferings of Hamashiach. And I, too, will share in his glory when he is revealed to the whole world. As a fellow elder, I appeal to you. Care for the flock that Yahweh has entrusted to you." All right? So there's a flock that the Lord has entrusted unto us, man. All right? We all, as time, goes on, brothers are becoming elders. Brothers are becoming leaders. Brothers are becoming experienced. So the Lord is entrusting a flock unto brothers, okay? To watch over them, to lead them in the right path, in the right direction. It says, watch over it willingly, not grudgingly, all right? So we watching over the flock willingly. We're happy to lead younger brothers, young men, all right, that's taking the Lord serious the right way. We're not doing this. It's not nothing we do, grudgingly, all right, or not, or we feel like we're forced to do it. No, man, this is our charity. That is charity, to watch over a brother, to lead a brother, to help that brother, all right, in the hell that we're going through. Okay, it says, not for what you will get out of it, but because you are eager to serve Yahweh. All right, and that's what we are setting an example, is to do this not out of this just the reward, but because we're eager to serve the Lord, man. There's an eager in us. There's a willingness, all right, in our spirit to serve the Lord, Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, in truth and sincerity, genuinely serving the Lord. Okay, it says, don't lord it over the people assigned to your care, but lead them by your own good example. All right, so don't lord it over. All right, don't lord over the people, all right, that the Lord has assigned to you. And that's what Jake do. Jake gets some type of, leadership position, all right, and Jake get in their head about it. They start lording over Jake, bro. They start lording over the Lord's flock, all right? But the scripture says not to do that. The scripture says lead them by your own good example, all right? And a good example of, Jake lording over the Lord's flock is by telling Jake to do certain things that they don't do, all right? Being a hypocrite, all right? To be a good leader, you have to set a good example, all right? If you're going to tell them to do something, you got to already have mastered it. If you're going to tell the flock to do something, or brothers, the younger brothers to do something, you got to have already mastered or doing it yourself, all right? Discipline yourself, man. You got to be disciplined, all right, in order to have a disciplined flock, in order to discipline your flock, okay? But Jake, they let that leadership position get too much into their head. It's not even about, all right, being an example to them. It's more so about ruling over them. Oh, I got power to make him do this. I got power to make him do that. So it's not willingly that you're doing this, man. All right? You're not doing this out of the eager to serve the Lord. You're not doing it to father lead Jake into life. You're doing it because you feel like you have the power to. All right? And that's what the Lord would do is he would take you out of that spot, bro, and humble your ass, man. All right? Niggas become prideful when they get spots, bro, but the Lord will take you out of it and he will humble you quickly. Okay, so the best thing to do, the best thing the Lord teaches us before we get these positions is humility, being humble. All right? Erasing, all right, and purging out of us that prideful spirit, man. Through humility, through, going through hell and catching afflictions. You're being purged from the pride to understand that we ain't nothing, bro. No matter what position you got, you still as filthy rags, bro. All right? And we trying our best to become perfect. That's what our ultimate goal is to become perfect. But right now, we're filthy, bro. All right? It says, and when the great shepherd appears, Yahushua, you will receive a crown of never-ending glory and honor. In the same way, you who are younger must accept the authority of the elders. And all of you dress yourselves in humility as you relate to one another. That's what I just said, bro. All right, so when the Lord come back, when Yahushua come back, we're going to receive that crown of never-ending glory and honor. All right? Through feeding his flock, leading his flock. All right? Through going through the class of humility, bro. All right? And it says, and all of you dress yourselves in humility as you relate to one another. We all dress ourselves in humility, bro. Being humbled. Okay? As we relate to one another. We ain't looking at ourselves over, oh, I'm better than you. Nah, bro, we all in sin. We all in these weak fleshly bodies, bro. You don't never supposed to look at another brother and think you're just better than them, bro. Okay? It says, for Yahweh opposes the proud, but gives grace to the humble. So the Lord opposes the proud, man. The proud nigga that believe he got that type of, oh, I got this type of position. I'm him, I'm that. And the Lord will oppose you, bro. All right? The Lord will humble you in the worst way possible. All right? And Jake either will fall out because of that humbling, or he will become better. He will humble himself down. He will understand. And, Jake will become better through the Spirit. He says, but gives grace to the humble. The Lord will give mercy and grace unto the humble. All right? And so it says, so humble yourselves under the mighty power of Yahweh. And that's, all right, a big trait of a leader is humility, humbleness. All right. You know, being humble. Yahweh Shai himself led us with that example. All right. Being humble, washing his servants' feet. Okay. It says, and at the right time, he will lift you up in honor. Give all your worries and cares to Yahweh, for he cares about you. All right. So in the right time, the Lord will lift you up in honor. Once you humble yourself, once you, submit to order. All right. Submit to the humility. Allow it to form and mold you. All right. Into a great man of the Lord. Into a great leader of the Lord. All right. So with that, Lord willing, this lesson was edifying to the hopeful elect and the ones listening in. I just want to go into a quick lesson on that, just through the Spirit. And I want to give all praises, glory, and honor